It's been a while since there's been an update, but I've been getting the car out. I've done a few 100 miles in it now. It runs great. Got the sunroof open, all fully working. Painted the wheels. New stickers. So after a few 100 miles, there's a couple of faults that I'm chasing down at the moment. One of them is the ABS light keeps coming up on there. I've had the meter on the ABS ECU and checked that I've got continuity to all the wheel sensors, and I've had the scope on, but I'll put all that in a later video. That's still on. And the other thing is I'm still getting the bogging down around 2,500 RPM very intermittently. Now, doing a bit of research and looking at fault codes, it turns out that it's pointing towards the oil metering pump, which is off there at the moment. So it's got a pretty basic fault code reader on here. What you do is you ground this connector here, which is just grounded onto the bodywork, and then you stick an LED or a meter or something in those first two data lines there. This is just a 12 volt LED that I've just bent the pins out. It's just one of these things. So you just bend the pins out and shove them into the connector. So to read the fault codes, we have to turn the ignition on until they get the lights on. So ignition on. We've got the little jumper earthed and the LED side light in. And you see it blinks away. So you just a matter of counting the blinks and then refer to the factory service manual to get the codes on. So you get 2 long blinks. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 short, 1, 2, 1, 3 long ones, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 short ones. You just put those together and get the idea. So the codes I've got at the moment, I've actually got the oil metering pump out and the airflow meters off the turbo and a few plugs up. That's why we're getting so many codes. But you look at the service manual here and you can see the long and the short pulses, long and short pulses, and they give you a code number and a description. So I've got these here, 8, 10, 20, 26 and 30. Airflow meter, because it's not there. Oil metering pump. That's the motor, and then the actual position sensor, and then one for this air solenoid. So when it was all together, the only one I was getting this constantly, this 20 oil metering pump position sensor. Now when you look at the description for 20 oil metering pump, broken wire or short circuit. So when it does that, it goes into basic settings for fuel injection amount, and ignition timing is fixed, so it'll only rev to 2,500 RPM, which is what I'm getting. So I'm looking for this. Now in the factory service manual, there's a pretty good section on the oil metering pump, so you can actually, this is for the pump control system, and then that's for the position sensor. It's got a stepper motor on it, and as I understand it, depending on how fast the engine's going, the stepper motor opens varying amounts, which allows varying amounts of oil to be pumped up into the engine to lubricate. So when it fails, it goes to its basic setting, which is the minimum amount, which obviously stops the engine from over revving. So you can measure the resistance of the coils on the motors and the position sensors, which I've done. That all tests okay. I'm on with the position sensor. Sorry, this is the pump on this side. This all measures okay. You measure all the windings, all looks so good. Can't really see a problem. Now, while I've been looking at this thing, you can see it's cracked there. So there's a small crack in this casing for the position sensor. Now I've just knocked on one of these. They're just two Phillips or Posies. It's quite hard to tell. It looks like they've had something in them before. So I've just knocked one of those in. I need to try and get that open to see if there's a problem with that. Because I've been round all the cables, the end of the cables on here, they connect into this part of the loom and then they go back down into the passenger footwell and connect onto the ECU. Now all the diagnostics tell you to check all these out, so yeah, I've got continuity from those to these, so everything works. It's just every now and again it's throwing this code, so I just need to investigate that, see what the problem is there. So this has come off okay. This is the position sensor. This is as it's just come off with the crack in the case just there. It's obviously got some moisture in it. I don't know whether that's a mechanical sensor or it's something like the wheel position sensor where it detects. You can't really see in there, but it looks a bit gammy. Now that's picking up something on the motor. I don't know whether that's a mark on the back there, but just give it a clean up and see where we get to. So the crack is just on the bracket. It's not actually part or allowing any water to get inside. It's just the end of the bracket that's broken off, so that's not too bad. It has these shims on it, which, if that is a position sensor and it has to be shimmed to the right distance. There's nothing in the service manual about it, but if that shim's got rusty and it's increasing the distance that it's away from the actual position in there, don't know, just guessing. I want to try and find some information on what this is about. So there was a lot of corrosion on that surface where the shims go, so there was definitely a gap increase on there. The factory service manual, which I've tested before, gives you some readings of the coil E2 to VC, which was 1896. So I've got the meter just tapped into the same, and it's 1889 ohms, which is just fully open. If you press the plunger, which is obviously positioned in a looking at the sensor at the motor position, goes from 450 to 1896, which is what it was before. But when I try and push it into here, get it home without any shims in it, if I can get it in one hand. Right, that's in, all the way in, and now we've got slightly reduced resistance, which will give a different voltage reading to the ECU. So there's obviously a tolerance that says 1 to 2k, which it was in tolerance before, and now we're at 1500. It's going to be different. Now if the OMP was faulty all the time, and me just resetting it just clears it temporarily and then it just fails back again after the 15-minute drive or the 9-mile drive that I'm experiencing, that might explain it. But I need to try and find out what that voltage should be and get some power across it. Because it's gone from 1896 to 1570, which is only going to be tenth of a volt or something different, but don't know. So I've got a theory why the OMP position sensor fault is on. When I've been down here before, this all tests okay, but when you come down to this sort of ambiguous bit here, turn on the ignition and verify that a voltage of 1 to 4.2 volts is indicated at terminal 2A. Now terminal 2A is the green and black VO, which is the signal wire from the position sensor. So that changes depending on the position of the plunger. Now, I read it 0.3 volts when everything was together. Now, it's got to be in the range of 1 to 4 volts. And it says, if it is, yes, replace the ECU. But I think this is not right. So I was getting 0.3 volts, which is below that. So I think that was putting the fault on the code 20 and putting it in permanent limp mode, because 0.3 volts, this is connected up now, so I've got the probe in VO, which is connected to terminal 2A on the ECU, which is the signal wire off the position sensor. Now it's not connected up, it's not in the OMP, so it's just sat at its default settings, and there's no volts on it. So if you press the plunger, the voltage increases up to 4.2, which just happens to be this range. So it should have a range of 1 to 4.2. Now it wasn't, because it's in its like a default position, as far out as the plunger will go. Now I've got some JB weld on the end of there at the moment, so if you, I'll just try and stick it in. So if I just push this in now with one hand, there you go, 1 volt. So now we're in range. We're in the range of that, not 0.3. Now this had the crack, and it had the rusty shims, and it had all the corrosion against this edge, which, if I can simulate it, was doing a bit of that. So it was in that position, giving 0.03 volts. So I think connecting that back up like that with no shims, it's not pressed in right, I can't do it with one hand. Get in. I think that's the fault. So now when the OMP comes on, the ECU will see 1 volt and it'll fire away.